Yeah, Dr. Schmidt, you mentioned that that space exploration could be financed by private companies, but I think I think it's pretty clear that in order for this to be serious, and it should be, because mankind's future depends on this, it has to be government financed, and it has to be a science-driven project. We have to get serious. So my question is both to you and to Helga Zapp-LaRouche, and the question is, how do we get basically humanity to become to think in terms of Kraft-Erike and basically be inspired by the ideas that the Schiller Institute represent, and really that becomes the standard again.
Well, very quickly, there are two things. You have seen that a lot was about competition. And competition you had also with Homo sapiens that I showed. You need competition. It's also part of the human species, so to say. But you need competition and cooperation together. And this mix is very difficult. Politicians usually, they think about competition. Not many talk about cooperation because this is much more difficult. I know what I talk about because I've worked for the European Space Agency for 15 years now. We're 12 countries. To make them agree on programs and to finance, to run it and so on, everybody is happy and so on. It takes a lot of time, and financially it takes just 20% more budget because of all this complexity and so on. But this money is not wasted because at the end you have a common product, a common objective, and something you can show to everybody. So competition and cooperation, that mix is quite difficult, and that's why politicians have some difficulties following these kind of things and pushing for these kind of things, because they don't see the immediate benefit. In space exploration, it's very simple. If you take a decision today, you see the result in 10, 20, 30 years. When I started in 2001, started before, but decision-making for the ExoMars program, if it works, we will have results in 2019, 2020, you see? A politician wouldn't have taken the decision because he doesn't care what happens in 20 years. He has a mandate and he wants to be re-elected. This is reality.
I think that the problem is not so much the politicians as such. The problem is that we are living under this oligarchical system which Madame Presotto was describing. And the oligarchy generally does not want people to be concerned with these matters, because if everybody would be thinking like these two gentlemen, we wouldn't have a problem. The world would function very well if everybody would think on the level of scientific progress. So Machiavelli at a certain point said that, when a country has an enemy, then the competition forces the ruling elite to allow a certain amount of technology, because you have to have, at least for military purposes, you have to allow technological and scientific progress. And this is why this globalization became so horrendous after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Because as long as the Soviet Union existed, there was the need to be competitive in the field of military technology. And the green globalization and the whole green paradigm became much, much worse after the Soviet Union had disappeared. Now, for that reason, I think it's beneficial and a good luck that China is so ambitious in its space program, because that puts a certain amount of burning shirt under the behinds of these politicians who have to make the decision. Because if China has the plan to be on the moon by 2030 to mine helium, to do other things, it puts a pressure. And Obama had basically cancelled the whole manned space program. And now it's the Chinese encouragement, there obviously has to be a rethinking. But that's obviously not the level which we need, because I think that, the reason why I think we need to look at the subject of this morning together with the subject of the afternoon is because we somehow have to create a discussion where the people who are thinking the most rational, and I think that this is the scientists, simply because they believe in universal principles which are repeatable anywhere on the planet, and the extraterrestrial imperative of Kraft-Erike also means when you are on a manned space travel, you cannot have a freak out and go and have some pot, because you tend to have a bad health effect if you do that. So the extraterrestrial imperative is also a way of getting people to a more rational thinking. And what I think we need to do is to have, a combination of all of these subjects where the wise men of the earth get together, and wise women, obviously. Because this is what Nikolaus of Cusa had said, the reason why there can be a dialogue and understanding among people is because in each country you have scientists, you have geophysicians, you have musicians, you have composers, and it is among these people that you can find a common language. And I think we have to have, the intellectual, creative people of the world unite against stupidity and this practical thinking of politicians.
I want to add something to that. I think that in the work that Didier Schmidt is doing or what I am doing, I'm going on that with the European Agency, with the former colleagues of the CNES. We try to change our mentality, our behavior. We are trying to share with the citizen, street people, we can say, and not only between professionals. It can be in schools, in this kind of conference. We try to share the work we are doing, the discovery that we are making, and what it can be, and what it's useful for the people. That's why I like. You can forgive me, but it's kind of evangelization. Scientific evangelization of the citizen. Because when we have proven something, when we have discovered something which is very good for human beings, we have to share it with the most simple word possible, without any assumption or back thinking. That's why I finish with this question of innovation. We have to be honest and authentic. Be simple, and we can win people. We can share with them our discoveries. We have to take time. We have that our engineering school in Germany, in Spain, in Great Britain, in France. We have that our engineering school to learn, to teach also, to communicate their discovery. With a subject, a verb, and without too much sophistication.
This is needed, being technology, political ideas, God knows what, and then get together to implement them together. I think this is the easiest summary I can find. I'll give you an example. When I started these kind of programs, each country, it was Russia, it was the US, Japan, Canada, Europeans. They wanted to have their scientists doing experiments on the space station. I was responsible for the European part. We have been put, and Antonio was on the French side, we have been able to have a program where we have an international research announcement. Everybody was competing for the same objective. And once we got the best people, all the nations who participate in the station have agreed to implement the best, and not one against the other, so to say. And this is a very, very easy example. So compete whatever you want, get the best ideas, and then get again together to implement it.